Well, welcome, Michelle, and
Hi.
welcome to everyone watching us live and or watching the recording later. I am Monique Catoggio, founder of Fiercely Flowing and of this series called Fierce Conversations. And as many of you know, I have been welcoming women who are near and dear to my heart, and women who I've just met who are doing just incredible things in the world and have shown up, fiercely for themselves over the years, and giving us the space to just really have these, deep conversations about, what it takes to stand in our power, what it takes to show up for ourselves, and sometimes make really difficult decisions that may be judged by others. And who the hell cares? Because we're here to move our lives forward, passionately, powerfully, and just really live from our hearts. And Michelle is one of those women. I have to say that, she has been in my life for a very long time, and I have been watching her, witnessing her, attending her events for years. And but she magically showed up during the time that I left a 17-year career, and had a lot of kind of judgments around that, right? And then the fear of, oh gosh, I'm excited about what I want to do and what I want to breathe life into, but I'm also like really fearful about taking that leap forward. And so being a part of her life, of her teachings, of her magical group at that time was, exactly the medicine that I needed. And it's been many years later, and I'm so excited to have her here so she can share what she's up to. And I know she's up to a lot of magic, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So Michelle, welcome. So happy to have you here today.
It's my pleasure, honor. Thank you.
Awesome. So I want to just tell you who Michelle is for those of you who don't know, and I'm pretty sure most of you do know who she is, but Michelle Villalobos is the CEO and founder of the Superstar Activator and the creator of Superstar Business Breakthrough and Retreats to Riches, among many, many other things, and a new published author as well. So we'll get to that because she's going to show us a copy of her beautiful new creation. So Michelle, anything else you want to say as just a brief intro before we dive in?
No, I think you nailed it. I'm excited. I just wanted to say, I witness in you too, the evolution and growth since we last really connected deeply. And, I remember that time that you just mentioned when you were fearful, and part of that was, am I really allowed to be all of me in the world? And I remember kind of that time of you saying, yes, I am. I choose this. I claim my authentic self. And I am coming out of the closet as woo woo and all that, right? That back then that was a thing. And now it's so beautiful to see you like fully embodied in this spiritual teacher that has gifts for corporate environments also, but doesn't bend or change herself to fit them, which is what I have to do. And I imagine, that's the temptation that we all have when it's time to put our true self out there. There can be that like, oh, will they really accept me? Can I really be safe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what it felt like. It was like, I have one foot in the old door, right? The old me, and one foot in the new me, and just really like alchemizing and trying to integrate the two while not betraying, yourself. And I know that many of the women in this group, and so many more women and men who will listen to this outside of this group, are also going through it. I really do feel, and I'm sure you agree, that we are going through this spiritual awakening. We're going through an awakening in general where it's okay to be who we are. It's okay to show up fully in our authenticity and share our gifts with the world, and magnetize and attract those people who really, want to work with the gifts that we have, and know that it will happen and that they will show up if we put ourselves out there. So, and you have done that. I've seen you, like, I just remember in the very beginning, all of the, and we'll get to the spirituality, but you really kind of went through this period where you explored so much in your life, and different teachers and mentors and spiritual practices that I would say that really kind of woke you up to this next level of who you are.
Oh yeah.
today.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. I mean, I was
Awesome.
I just in service of this new creation, as you called it, which I love that you called it a creation. I've been really plumbing the depths of my life, some of the shadow material, like a lot of the darker stuff. You know, that's been
Yeah.
a thing I've been doing now for a few years. And right now, in looking at the shadows and looking at that, I saw how often I was not authentic, how often I sold out my heart and my soul for approval, for belonging, for acceptance. And you're right, like since you first met me, and now I feel like I'm, you know, really truly a different human being and more myself than I've ever been in my life, you know.
Awesome. I'm gonna get to that because I want to talk a little bit more, and I think it's helpful for everyone to kind of see, like, you know, when we work with our shadow and we come across, you know, these aspects of ourselves that we kind of don't want to look at, you know, but they are a part of our wholeness. They're a part of who we are, and if we ignore them, we're doing disservice to ourselves. And so, with that knowledge, how do we operate differently today, you know, and what are the outcomes of that? So I definitely want to dive in there, but before we get too further, because it gets so juicy in these conversations, I would love to invite you to share with everyone today a moment in your life, either recently or in the past, where you felt you really showed up fiercely for yourself. And if you could just kind of walk us through that process.
Yeah, well, you know, I would say that the most catalytic moment I've ever had was sitting in a hospital room with my fiance at the time, getting a hold of his cell phone and figuring out that he had a whole different life. He had a whole separate life. And that was like, you know, one of those moments that feels almost like surreal, you know, like
Yeah.
you go out of body a little bit, you know.
Right.
And then from there was like a whole, you know, dominoes, you know, like I call it now my dark night of the soul. Because what I believe in hindsight, like what my perspective on it now is that the universe had tried, God, source, spirit, my own higher self, whatever you could conceive of that being, because I don't know. I don't think any of us
Right.
did, had been trying to wake me up for a long time and had been sending me a lot of messages for a lot of years that I was ignoring.
Yeah.
And it took that big of a breakdown, wake up call for me to shift my life.
Right.
And the changes I made, obviously I broke up with that person. And that sent me on a journey of self-discovery and awakening, during which I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I quit doing a lot of things and started doing yoga and eating well and meditating and hiring personal development coaches when I had been very like, I don't do that sort of thing.
And I got all the answers. I
I
know it all.
answers. I know what I need to know. And if it isn't observable, it doesn't exist, and rational, you know, logic, science, which I really do put that in quotes now, because I think that the spiritual quantum physics world that I have dived into now is like way more true than any, you know, old model of Newtonian, you know.
Sure.
But anyway, but I wasn't even open. And that was, I think that the universe, I'll call it, was like, well, you know, she's got to wake up because that's what she came here for. So we're going to have to send her like a really big wake up call. And it's
really
not that it wasn't just that, it was that. And I got a really serious health diagnosis, and my business started to break down all in a 3-month period. So like everything that I thought I was, every identity that I had claimed was cracking, and there was no hanging on to it. It was just disintegrating.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, who am I if I'm not a successful businesswoman? Who am I if I'm not about to get married and have children and live this life that, you know, I've always thought I wanted? Who am I if I'm not healthy and young? You know, so it was just like all the identities. It was like, well, who's left if not none of that is true? If all these identities are not actually me.
Yeah. And here's a question, because I really feel, and knowing you, I know how deeply intuitive you are, and I just happen to to know that we're all deeply intuitive if we allow ourselves to really pick up the signs, right? And it sounded like the universe was really screaming at you for a long time. Was there a part of you that knew?
Oh,
That
yeah.
knew that you were lying to yourself, that knew that there was betrayal in the air
1,000%.
and you just weren't looking at it? And what do you think you were afraid of? What were you saying to yourself in those moments where you're like, nope, not going to pay attention to that sign?
I would say that the biggest kind of underlying factor in all of this was that I did not trust myself.
Yeah.
That I had been trained or trained myself or believed a story that my intuition was not reliable, and that only what is, like logic ruled, and like I couldn't trust myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So logic was the way to go. If it was in black and white, if it wasn't in a business plan or in a, written down, like I know where I'm going step by step, then it just wasn't something I can trust.
Exactly. I didn't trust my own heart. I didn't really have a good connection to my own heart. I've just done human design recently, and now I can see some of that.
What's your human design?
I'm a manifesting generator.
I was going to guess it anyways. Yeah, me too.
Generator. Exactly. And I don't know enough about it yet, but I see the image, and like there's, the triple split or whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, me connecting to my heart is something I have to do very intentionally.
Yeah. And listen to your gut. And so what I know about manifesting generators, because I'm one of them, and actually 80% of us out there are generators, and and then some of those are manifesting, but is this exciting for me?
Right.
Does this light me up?
And nothing that I was doing in my life
was lighting you up.
No, nothing. The relationship wasn't lighting me up. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, it wasn't.
No. Yeah.
But I was also, I'm going to be, totally transparent here, as this is not me anymore. And so there's a part of me that feels still shame about some of this, but like what I was fixated on was the wedding, the dress, the ring, the party,
the external,
all that. Meanwhile, there was a really strong part of me that was like, I honestly think that my body made me sick.
Yeah.
To try to wake me up.
To stop you. You. Yeah. Oh, I got chills with that one. Yeah. It was, you had the ultimate tower moment, as a tower reader, and everyone here, shows up on Tuesdays for tarot.
Too, by the way. Yes, I did.
That was the tower moment that just had you come crashing down and say, okay, it's time to rebuild. It's time to trust yourself. It's time to feel into your body and make that connection between your mind and your heart, right? Which so many of us have that disconnected. But going back to, human design really quickly, is that you also have to, our manifesting generators have to live by their impulse, by the physical gut impulse in that moment, like trust it. And if we don't, we're already off. We're off.
I was off from way back.
Yeah.
I was off from like, yeah, exactly.
So how did you build that trust in yourself back up?
I'm still at it. Listening deeply, I would say stillness practices, a lot of spiritual shadow work, a lot of I work with Nani Leah Diamond, who
Yes.
I've been working with her now for 5 years. It's not the only work I do, but it's the most consistent. And part of her work is really helping us move the energy through.
Yeah.
Break up, bound emotional energy and liberate it.
Yeah.
Through alchemy, which is, by the way, kind of the whole theme of the book is it's from A to B, like what's that path to get from, out of alignment, shame, regret, blame, victimhood, judgment. Like, what is that? How do you do that? Like nobody taught me that. What I was taught, and what maybe you were taught, what all of us were taught was like, smile,
right,
and grin and bear it.
Suck it up and move on.
Suck it up. Yeah. When I was a little kid, I had massive like temper tantrums. I was angry. I had a lot of fire. I had a lot of emotional energy, but I was like, they took me to the doctor.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with her? The
Yeah,
doctor,
give her a medicine.
yeah, and they did,
Yes.
you know, and I know they did
Yeah.
their best, you know,
Right.
but it wasn't like, just let her cry it out or hold her, love her,
Right.
hug
Yeah.
her. It's like, you know, change her. And then I
Right.
remember the minute I would start, like my dad would be like, put a smile on that face.
Mm.
So that was the
Yeah.
message always. It was like, cover it up, stop it, shut it
Right.
down, suppress it, like don't feel.
Don't
And
feel.
feeling is the heart, and it is the source of all our power.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there is a need for anger.
Yeah.
There
There's a
just
need for all of the emotions, you
all
know?
of them. All of them.
Yeah. We
All
have
of
to
them.
feel them. We have to allow ourselves to feel them, you know, and there's this, I get asked this question a lot, you know, like I go through the shadow, I go deep. I know what happened back when I was a child. I know, you know, what I've, those important lessons I've learned through my life. And yet I still feel like I have to go back to the shadow. Why do I have to keep going back to the shadow? You know? And
Just that
unfortunately,
question is evidence that you need to go back
yeah,
to the shadow.
exactly. Like we're here to experience the duality of life. Like we can't keep getting better if we
Yeah.
are not willing to go back and just keep understanding what we've been through, how we've risen above, what little pieces of what my parents taught me do I want to keep, and which ones do I want to now just say, I don't want that lesson anymore, right? So, for example, it sounds like you and I both had that one of, you know, grin and bear it, suck it up, put a smile on your face, keep moving on. And I would say today, I'm kind of glad that that's something I learned,
Yeah.
but now I do it consciously. It's not done unconsciously,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
I grin and bear it, and I get tough with myself and put a smile on when I need to do it, but I'm doing it by choice.
Yeah.
And that way I'm holding on to my energy. I'm still managing my energy. And then when I'm done with the mask, I put it away and say, thank you for serving me. And
Yeah.
now I'm going to show up as my authentic self and, you know, breathe life into that again.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
Can
covered
I
shadow.
add something to
Yeah,
that? So I
please.
just want to break, because I feel like this was a huge breakthrough for me.
Yes.
About a year and a half ago, about 2 weeks before this creation dropped in, I had a flu, and then I got COVID back to back in February 2021.
Okay.
And not only did I get COVID, 11 other people got COVID at my event.
Mm, okay.
Out of like 21 people or something.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a huge amount of shame and guilt that came up, like massive, like concern, regret, blame of myself, shame, guilt, like all those emotions. And I remember laying in bed when in that like liminal moment where you're like half asleep, half awake, sort of half dreaming. And I felt a shadow. I felt the darkness. I felt like evil basically come to my left shoulder, wanting my attention, wanting to be with me. And I flipped over onto my other side. I said, I'm not going there. I can't deal with this right now. And I remember saying, I will face this.
Right.
I'm not going to do it right now.
Right now.
Then in the throes of like COVID, this was, I don't remember the exact timing, but I was in I was having my like massive breakdown. I had already recognized that shame was like this dark mass that was in me. And I was alchemizing. I was like screaming. I was crying. I was just like letting it out. And I saw in the corner of the room that I was in, I was on my knees, and I saw the dark the dark entity.
Right.
That's how I perceived it. And it was like this ugly, shriveled up, old looking creature, black, like, like what you would imagine the devil looks like, maybe,
right,
but
right.
Devil, like all shriveled up and like terrified, shaking. And I felt its fear, its pain, its sadness. And I opened my arms and I invited it in, and I held it, and I brought love, I brought light, and it integrated.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And I will never forget that moment, because it was the moment I realized, like, this is what we have to do to the shadow. We don't say, I don't want to see you. I hate you. I don't want to be this thing. It's like, how do I bring love?
Exactly.
And if we do that in ourselves, imagine what we can do in the world, because that's really what's happening around us, is like we bring hate to hate, you know, instead of bringing light and love to it, you know, and that's what our media does. That's what we're trained to do. That's what our politics are based on. Like, it's all based on that. And
hate,
what I
and the division, and creating division in the world instead of creating unity, you know. And you know, I know we talk about love versus fear, but it's very real, you know. And if we just look at every situation, and it's not easy. I mean, these things we talk about are not easy to do, because it takes commitment to embrace the dark side of yourself, you know, and to love it, and also to embrace the darkness in others and send them love and light. But if you believe, if we choose to believe that we're all healers, and we are, and that we can heal with love, then we can really change our circumstances, heal ourselves, and which is what you did. You healed yourself by loving the darkness in yourself and recognizing that you weren't taking care of yourself, that you weren't supporting yourself, that you weren't loving yourself. You were just trying to be what you felt others needed from you in order for them to love you, right? And many of us walk through life that way, just wanting to be loved. And yet, if we start by loving ourselves, it just kind of solves everything.
Yeah, we give ourselves that which we're trying to fill the void from, you know, with others. So it's just like, that was a big breakthrough for me, of like, because in the past it had always been, how do I fight this part of myself? How do I get rid of that part of me? How do I stop being that? And what I got was like, well, how do I integrate that into me with love? And yeah, that was the big.
I love that. Yeah, and I think part of our role, all of us who are listening, is through compassion for ourselves and vulnerability, like being okay having these conversations. You know, like yesterday I was sharing with a group of women that I lead that I was having a bad day. I'm like, I started out really high and my energy just tanked and went low, and I'm starting to feel all these emotions. And of course, some of them want to come in and fix it for you. And I'm like, I love you and I don't want you to fix it. I'm just sharing that right now I'm working through it, right? Like owning it and sitting with it and giving myself the love and compassion to not dive into something else, like, work more to take your mind off of it, like, which is what we're so good at. The numbing it.
The numbing, that's the
right. Alcohol, food, work, whatever.
Shopping.
And just being okay, shopping, oh my gosh, and just sitting with it. And that's how we can start to heal ourselves. I love this. So I want to go back to energy, and I want to share and thank you for introducing me to Nani Lea's work, because I met her through you. And one of the most pivotal moments in my life was when she came to Miami after we had met her at your retreat, and I did a session with her. And let me tell you, Michelle, I never knew until that moment how closed my heart was. Like I was being that strong woman, like getting up every day, just putting on the face, putting on the clothes, going out into the world and just pretending everything is okay. And she did not leave my side. She had her hands in my heart and was breathing with me until it opened, until it released. And then it was like a floodgate.
She did stage one with you, suffering.
Right. And that day, I won't even go into the changes, but I mean, it just changed my life and helped me to have a fierce moment for myself, stand in my, in my power and make a difficult decision. And so, let's talk energy. Let's talk quantum. A lot in this group, we talk about so many different tools, healing tools, energetic tools, ritual, which, many of us try to define it or put it in a box. And I don't think it belongs in a box. I think that we get to choose what healing tools work for us and how ritual shows up, whether it's structured or whether it's flexible. And so obviously you mentioned quantum, that you kind of went into this area of science and shifted it for yourself, starting with Nani Lea's work. How do you help yourself? How do you use quantum energy? How does it support you today?
Okay, so I have a few practices. Like you said, some of them are like a daily practice, some are when I need it kind of practice, but There are quite a few. I mean, number one, I do work with Nani Leia on an ongoing basis. So a few times a year, I'm in person, doing a lot of deep, deep energetic work. She works with you with your nervous system. It's pretty amazing. And then I do some practices that she's taught me, one of which is receptivity in the morning. So it's just a receptivity practice. It's a practice of being in the yin, fully open. And it's a dual practice of first connecting to the primal energies and then connecting to profound energies and bringing those two together with an open heart. So that's a daily practice for the most part. And then I do something that's kind of an amalgam of a few different pieces of work. One is there's a book called The 12 Stages of Healing by Don Epstein. So there's a stage 4 is a stage of, empowerment, taking our power back, like a breakthrough stage, combined with this book called Busting Loose from the Money Game, which he gives you a practice there, like a mini process to be discomfort. So I've kind of that plus what I've learned from Nani Leigh, I've kind of synthesized into my own little alchemical process. I turned it into a worksheet, and I love it. Whenever I'm with a really difficult thing, like for example, in March, I got my crypto account got hacked and I almost lost a whole big chunk of money. And I did this process during that. And I came to peace with it. If I lose all this money, I will be okay, and I kind of made peace with it. And the money did get back to me, which was a miracle, most of it. But not to say that's why I did it. Although maybe there was a part of me that's like, maybe this will help me get it. But I really did come to peace with letting it go.
Right.
So that process, I call it now the breakthrough bridge, because it's like, instead of going all the way down into the dark night of the soul, it's like a bridge across. There's still work to be done. There's still shadow to be alchemized and faced, but you don't have to like go all the way down, like, sometimes.
Exactly. And I think a lot of us do get addicted to going to the depths of our shadow, and sometimes we don't need to go that far. I downloaded that worksheet today, by the way. So so I'll put
I hope you like
Michelle's website. Of course I'm going to love it. I'll put in the comments the website so everyone has access to it. And I want to stop for a second and just say hi to Jessica and to Lena, who are here live. So Jessica says, hi, Monique and Michelle, already loving this conversation. Yay. And Lena, of course, my partner in crime, she and I went to all of your conferences together, so you may remember her.
Hi, Lena, I love you. I do. I've told you before that you're amazing.
Yes, we had a wonderful, fierce conversation not long ago. And yes, you are talking about her love language, vulnerability, and allowing all of the feelings. Yes.
All the feelings.
So, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. I wanted to say hi to you ladies.
Practices, rituals. So those are two of my big, like the morning practice is big. Dance, I've been dancing, moving my body. Yoga is a big practice. There's the physical.
Any singing going on?
and that's funny you say that, because there's definitely a part of me that wants to. And I've got a lot on my plate at this moment, and I've learned the hard way in my life that when I take on way too much, I end up doing nothing very joyfully or well.
Good. Well, and sit with the doing nothing. Oh, I think that we were talking about going too deep. Letting go. That's what I wanted to, I think that
non-attachment.
Non-attachment and manifesting, right? Because I think it's okay for us to have these practices where we feel that we're in a tough situation, we've got to make a fierce decision for ourselves. And yet, if I use this tool, it could help me to manifest what it is that I'm desiring. And a big part, I believe, of the manifesting process is being able to let go. We plant the seed and then we surrender, because at the end of the day, the divine has, our back, and it's going to manifest the way it needs to manifest for our highest and best good. And
the best thing we can do is to be in gratitude, love, joy, appreciation. Like, that's gonna support, manifesting the best version, the highest and best outcome, and then there's all the other stuff we don't even understand, that we're part of something bigger. you know, and that's been the hardest one for me to really get, because I did grow up with such a sense of like needing to control everything. And if I do this, then I get that. And there was a lot of that strategy built into everything. And I've had to dismantle a lot of that to learn how to just be like, wow, well, if this is happening, then there, you know, I'm going to choose to believe that there's a reason for it.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah. Love that. And I have found that over the years, this needing to control everything is what really gets us into the state of sickness, you know, where we start to break down, our bodies start to break down, symptoms start to show up. And, you know, the sooner we can catch it and shift it, then the easier it is to heal from, you know, from those ailments that show up. That it's like a mirror. When I get sick, I always stop and say, okay, what's the emotional reason why I'm sick? Let me just kind of look in the mirror and pay attention to my energy and how to shift to a higher energy so I can, you know, heal. And I have to say that it does work. And I've been so healthy for so long now because of the energetic practice, right? And okay, so let's jump into this beautiful creation, because when I saw the email, before I even, you know, reached out, I was like, oh my God, like this is a work of art. It is gorgeous, really, really gorgeous. And of course I know your story, so I see your story coming through, but I want you to share what you've done, how it came to be. And I'm gonna, before I forget, I'm gonna write down the website. So it's butiwanttofly.com. Okay, is it www or is it just http?
I think it's either one. I think either one works.
Let me just type it like this and see if it works. But I want to fly.com. Yeah, do yourselves a favor, people. Go get this book. It's a masterpiece. And I just, after having listened to the poem, I was like, I want to buy this for like every child I know. Like, it's such a beautiful story. It really is. And it reminds me of my own kind of like, I always go back to tarot because that's one of my main languages, is the Fool. Like when I did my massively fierce decision not long ago, it was literally a moment where I was like the Fool, and I was like, I don't care if nobody catches me. I'm like flying. I am flying, and it's just gonna, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. But it was very freeing, very, very, you know, freeing. So yeah, I want to give you the floor. Talk about this beautiful book.
Maybe I'll open it by just saying this is something that I've never done anything like this before. It's completely, by the way, wait, hold on. We need to do this before. This has been one of the most life-changing things that I've ever
oh my gosh.
done. This is my little booby head, my little monkey, Neo. He's my baby. He's my baby. He just turned 2. I've had him since he was 8 weeks. And I just like, talk about heart opener, right? Like this here every day. I start it with so much love and joy.
Oh my gosh, I feel you, because going through, you know, one of the biggest life changes I had was the week of lockdown, of it, not knowing that was going to happen, but literally, you know, ended up in a new place by myself with my daughter and my dog. And let me tell you, if it wasn't for that dog, the healing process just was.
He's a little medicine dog. Everybody seems
their medicine. Oh, he is gorgeous. Oh, I'm so happy you introduced him to us. I'm a big fan.
He's not, he likes to sit at my feet, but he doesn't love it when I just like randomly pick him up, but he was right there. I was like, let me go for it.
Awesome.
So the after that whole thing happened where I integrated the shadow, and in that same experience, I also on my knees like commended my life to whatever dharma, whatever divine destiny. I just said, I give it up. I give up my life to you and to what I'm meant to do. Like I give it. And that was that. About 2 weeks later, I woke up in the middle of the night with this like song lyrics in my head, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't go back to sleep. And I did something I never do. I woke up and I wrote it down. And I kept writing for 2 hours, and I wrote this entire poem. Salud. And I've never written a poem before. Truthfully, I honestly believe the last time I wrote a poem was, it was probably written in crayon and started with roses are red, violets are blue.
Yeah.
That's my joke, because it is, it was just such a departure. And I'm a really big sleeper. I'm not a big early riser, like all the things. And so I wrote it down and it just poured out of me all at once, fully formed. And then started to take a life of its own. I shared it with a couple people. People responded really powerfully, but it took a really long time. And that was one of the things that I want to emphasize about it. Like, this was probably the first time that a project has really birthed itself through me, rather than me doing so much of the work.
Yeah.
It just kept asking for the next thing and the next thing, and it just kept flowing and it kept being easy. And so I just got the sample of it from the printer about 5 days ago.
Wow.
This is the cover. This is the holder. It comes in a case.
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
So this is the book. And it's called But I Want to Fly. And it's the story of alchemizing depression, selling yourself out into something beautiful. So this is the first spread of the book. If you can see that. The line.
And her name is V, right?
V. Yeah, well, so it's funny. That's a funny story. Her name is V because of Villalobos, V.
Exactly.
But also because when I first wrote it, I wrote it in the first person. Wow. The poem said, it started waking up again on the hamster wheel of life. I was safe, secure, and warm, but dying inside. But I wanted to make it third person for everyone else. It just felt true to change it. And the only way I could get the rhyme to work is if I named her either B or V or V or something like that. So I chose V because Villalobos. Yes. But so this is the beginning of the book, where she basically is realizing that she's miserable and unhappy, and she's sold out her dreams and her passion.
Betraying herself. Yes.
Betraying herself. And she's wondering, what would it be like? She says, what if this is it? She feared. And I never get the chance to live the life that's calling me, and in the mystery dance.
Oh my gosh.
And so dancing in the mystery is one of my favorite things I say. It's like how to surrender to.
And you're doing that, right? You're doing that by being able to say, I'm giving my life to you.
Yeah.
And that is so freeing. Freedom, and I've probably shared this with you many times, and freedom is my number one value. Like,
sister, yeah. As children of Cubans, do we have another choice?
Yes. Oh my God. I don't mean children of Cubans, children of a Pedro Pan child, who came and left her parents and was in that fishbowl. And, I can't even put myself in her shoes without crying, because it's like, I don't think I've ever done anything that hard in my life. And I don't think I'm ever going to do anything that hard in my life, And so, but true freedom, and which is why I know it's my number one value, because it's still hard. I still, but the more that I allow myself to do what you just shared, which is, I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want to work hard. I want to get off the hamster wheel. I want the inspirations to come through me. That is freedom to me. That is freedom, And so kudos, my gosh, for listening, for waking up, because I too have had those moments. I'm like, I'm so tired. I want to sleep. I don't want to write this down.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm so glad you did.
So the story goes, like, she breaks down. She has her alchemy. She feels feelings all the way through. She wept and wailed and mourned. And she accepts the painful truth was clear as day, no one but she to blame. So she takes responsibility.
Yes.
Still in a bit of victim. And then her heart cracks open. It opens up and all of it comes out. This was my story after that hospital day. I spent about 3 months of like ragged sobbing every single day, multiple times a day. My parents had to fly in and take care of me, and like giving myself over to being supported. Like there was so much in that was such a gift. And this is represented here. And then once the crying had kind of moved a lot of the energy through, all of a sudden there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a hope. And that's where she gets the idea that she wants to fly.
Oh
So
my
her
gosh.
heart and her head are arguing with each other here.
Oh yeah. Oh
And then
yeah.
she's like, but I want to fly. So that's the dream starts to drop in. And from the dream, she tries to share it with people and they make fun of her. And, she's worried, like, how's this going to go? Am I going to fall? And am I going to die?
Right.
And she starts to plan and create. And so she goes to her workshop and she starts to map out the plan of action and she starts to build. And then
Wow.
she learns to meditate. So she starts.
Yes.
So it says, in the meantime, she nurtured strength and grace to forgive and face her blunders. So she's not perfect. She's figuring this
No.
out as she goes. She's got her heart now is engaged in the whole process, and then the moment comes, the day that she decides to, today's the day,
Wow.
the picture that's on the front of the box.
So this is like a hero's journey, but it sounds like she's her own hero.
Yeah. Well, she's got her heart and her mind that are leading her. Yeah, she's her own hero. And her heart and her mind are initially arguing and at odds, and they start to come together.
They start to come together and support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to like invite you back and maybe do like a live reading on Zoom, like with hot cocoa or something, like,
Yeah. What we could do is we could do a reading. What I'm developing right now is I'm doing a reading of it that's integrated with a presentation, that's integrated with an interactive presentation of like, when have you felt like what are the dreams that you've let go of? And like, I'm working on that as we speak, like integrate. In fact, today I have a meeting with my coach that's reviewing all the notes I took about, some of my story to formulate that into a presentation. I could come back and do that for your people if you want.
I love it. I think that would be fantastic. I think the women would love it in this group and beyond that as well. So, Michelle, I'm so excited that we got together again and just touch base and love your story. Love that you've birthed this so beautifully. Like it was inspired. Like you said it, I see it. And I think you're going to definitely inspire so many to go for their dreams. In fact, I'm going to just, I tell her all the time, but Lena's got so many books in her. I'm like, can you just do it already? And then again, I'm like, no, I won't push you. It's going to come when it's going to come. Yeah. And that's the way it needs to be birthed. That's the way. I think we all have, these great inspirations within us, but sometimes when our masculine, we talk a lot about masculine and feminine, right? And when we push our masculine too much, we're not being the receivers, right?
Exactly.
And
the truth is I have 3 other books in the progress. Like one of them is on like my business books, Small Events, Big Impact.
Right.
It's like on chapter 10. I mean, it's ready. And this whole thing just completely superseded and co-opted that. And I like put everything else on hold because this was flowing. I followed the free energy, like what's available, what's alive, what's happening naturally. And that's been a big breakthrough for me. Instead of forcing and pushing my agenda, but I had a plan and this year was the year I was launch Small Events, Big Impact. It's like, guess it isn't, this is what's here and this is what's alive.
Yeah. Oh, and I wanted to go back. Let's go back to that last part of manifesting generators. That's really important, which is, do I have the energy for this right now? Right. And so it sounded like all of your energy was like calling you to this project. And that's when we're successful as manifesting generators, when you're like, my gut is telling me to do it. I'm so excited about it. And I have the energy for it. Boom. You're like magic. It's like magic synergy.
That's how it's felt. It's felt magical. It has definitely felt magical. The most magical creation I've ever, done. I would have to say.
Oh, you've created a lot of magic, my dear. I'm a witness to it. I think that your story, I just think of Miami and all the women in Miami, because we're a tight community. Most professional women kind of know each other. We play in the same circles. And I feel like we were all kind of in this energy of like breaking through, breaking out, releasing our shackles. And you, in many ways, the conferences that you had that brought us all together was a spark. It really was a spark for many of us to go out and pursue our dreams, make mistakes, shatter the glass ceiling, and tell all the naysayers, sorry if you don't believe in me, but I believe in myself.
That's it.
I believe in myself. And so I'm grateful. I'm always going to be very grateful for you. And I'm just so excited to see you thriving and creating beautiful work as always.
I appreciate that. And the truth is, like, in recent months, I've started to like remember the Women's Success Summit, because there was a part of me that kind of walked away from that because it was painful, because it was associated with that era,
right.
It was,
and all the masculine energy too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It was exhausting. And I didn't do very well in those events, at least the first few years. Like, it was so much of me. And then I didn't make a lot of money at all. Like, it felt like martyrdom.
Right.
And so there was and then later there were just other reasons. So now that I've kind of done a lot of healing, it's sort of like, well, what's available now? I wouldn't mind maybe doing something again in Miami. Who knows?
Yeah. And it'll feel different. You'll approach it differently energetically. And of course, not do it all yourself.
Completely.
Yeah. Support. Okay. So any final messages for anyone listening to this who is, has a dream and they're still like just scared to go for it, or they're having a hard time like showing up fiercely for themselves? Like, what would be your advice to them?
I feel like it's you got to just feel whatever it is you're not wanting to feel. Whatever it is that you're scared of feeling, like, just go decide to take a day or whatever and just actually feel it, whatever is there. If you can find it, that's the Breakthrough Bridge worksheet. If I could give a tool or a gift, it's free, try that. Like, that's a great way to get into it. Because that's what I use, because I do still have that difficulty sometimes. I get all up in the mind and I get like righteous. Like, these are this is how I know I need a Breakthrough Bridge moment, is I get righteous, I get judgy, I blame, I feel regret or shame or disappointment of expectations. Like, all those emotions are now to me a signal that there's something that wants to be felt and I'm not feeling it. And it's usually underneath it is usually like, anger or sadness. Those are two big emotions that I never let myself feel.
Yeah.
As a kid or, most of my life. So those are the two emotions that I cover up when I start raiding the fridge at night, or I'm like on Amazon for 4 hours. Like, those are like signals. And the trick is to recognize it as a signal and to say, I need a moment. I need a moment,
and I need to sit with my sadness. I think a lot of women today do get upset with themselves when they find themselves in those sad moments again, because I've been working so hard to get myself out of it, to be strong. And yet, we have to allow ourselves to feel, right? So what I'm hearing is you got to be aware, you got to pay attention to the signs and allow yourself to feel so you can move past it and just really connect the heart with the mind.
Yeah. I call it giving space and giving grace. Like,
love it.
Making space to feel it and giving yourself the grace of that space to actually feel what you feel.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. This was so special. I love it.
So special. Thank you.
All right, everybody. So I put the link to Michelle's website where you can pre-order the book, which I've already done, and download the free worksheet that she's talking about. And so check it out and share this conversation with your friends and your families and other incredible women and men out there. Yes, it's for everybody. So thank you again.
The video.
Yes.
Watch the trailer.
Oh, yes, the trailer.
It's awesome. And I made it myself. I've never made a video before, and I'm really proud of it. Like, I think it's really good. This is an example.
Are you a star creator mechanic?
I am. Star creator.
Okay, because I'm creator, star mechanic.
Supporter. Star creator support. Yeah, that creator in you. Are you kidding? Of course you're going to be able to do that. Yeah. I love the trailer. It's gorgeous. You saw it. Oh my God.
Of course I did. Yeah. I dove in. I went deep. I went
Oh,
deep. And yeah, so all right, everybody, go check it out. Michelle, thank you again. Love and light, sweet sister. Okay, see you
you.
soon.
Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.